when you pull on that jersey, you represent yourself and your teammates. And a name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. Get that through your head.
And here we go.
And it is no good. He missed it. Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
To a Monday edition of the program. I'm your host, Tyler Falk. Glad to have you back on NETMA. It's good to be back. Still in a lot of pain over my injury. If you were in the NETMA server Discord, link to which is down below. I basically threw out my arm. My entire right shoulder has just been in pain last few days. Pain's starting to go down a little bit, but still in considerable amount of pain. But we felt well enough to call a few games this past weekend. Felt well enough to start working on the show again. So what a crazy week 13. Enough about me, right? Let's get to football. Crazy week 13. I don't know if it was the week number, the first time we have ever had it, but it seemed like we had a lot of great games this past weekend. Lots of comebacks, lots of high drama, high antics, incredible plays made by incredible players. So let's talk about it, shall we? We only got one more week of the regular season to go here in week 18. And if it can live up to the billing that was week 13, I think we're in for a treat. So, all right, let's get on to number one. Backdoor Charleston. Here to start off the game. First game going over on this past Saturday. Charleston beat Atlanta 44-27, officially knocking Atlanta out of the playoffs at that point. And the Preds, after another game goes their way, which we'll talk about here in a moment, but the Predators might just have a way to win a division title if they can take down Florida in week 14, and if Jacksonville fails to lose because of the game that went on between Jacksonville and Florida this past weekend, Charleston have a way to win a championship, way to win a not only just can clinch a playoff spot, but maybe an even division title if Jacksonville and their game goes the right way. With a loss, Charleston are out of the playoffs. If I do my math correctly, if I look at strength of victory, all that kind of fun stuff. Because at present, I mean, there's a lot of situation to go. The situation show that's going to take place Friday night will go through all the different possibilities for Charleston. At that point, we should know a lot more than we already do. But as things stand, as the current strength of victory stands, a loss for Charleston and a win by Las Vegas or Denver eliminates Charleston as things stand. So the Preds played really good defense, limited themselves to mistakes, and Atlanta just looked sloppy. A couple of turnovers, one turnover to start off the game on the first play from scrimmage, and then a ball that didn't seem to be wanted to be caught by a wide receiver was just plucked away out of their arms, and Charleston gets a couple turnovers. Atlanta's offense just, you expect a lot more from them, and we've already talked about them at nauseum a couple weeks ago. But Charleston come away with a good win. They knock Atlanta out of the playoff picture, and the Preds they need a win. They need to beat Florida, and and that's a tall order with how Florida's been playing as of late. Okay, on to game number 2. Queen City, London. Britannia rules the waves. The Knights beat the Pirates, basically, or the Corsairs, as we call them. This game was back and forth, but, Pickler kept it clean for the most part here in this football game, especially at the end, leading 2 solid drives, which led to 2 JT Delaney field goals. There's a walk-off field goal for you there, JT. But the London Knights now, at present, are in a playoff spot. If they can play like that versus DC next week, they'll for sure make the playoffs. I'm a little skeptic on London, but if they can play just how they did versus Queen City, come away with a very nice solid win, they should be in the playoffs. Queen City, unfortunately, out after that loss versus London. They're out of the playoffs, and so that season goes from a season where we thought maybe they'd come out and show what they did in the first half of that first half of season 17 and maybe carry on, maybe rekindle that form, but some inconsistency to back-to-back, longer losing streaks, a 2-game losing streak, and now a 3-game losing streak, knock them out of the playoffs. So on to game number 3, Las Vegas from the ashes come away with a victory, and maybe a little bit helped by that last-second doink by DC. Sorry, Dragon fans, but down by 18, the Dragons come all the way back for the win. That's not the first time we'll talk about a comeback this week, but they hold on. They're pretty spunky. They show a little bit of their spunky side they've been known to have in the last couple seasons, and Las Vegas come away with the win. DC now need to beat London to maybe put London out of the playoffs and maybe have a higher seed. The highest seed that DC can now have is seed number 7. Right now they sit there as things stand. A win solidifies that position more than likely for the Dragons. For Las Vegas, they need to beat Denver next week in order to claim a division spot. Denver, we'll talk about them here in a second. Florida, Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's still the little brother, even though Florida just moved in only a few seasons ago. Jacksonville lost to Florida, or I should say the Alaska version of the Storm, twice in back-to-back championship games, and Florida continued to lord over their Kings as the Kings failed to secure that division title once again. So everybody's right there, neck and neck. Charleston licking their chops at 6-5, a win and a Florida loss, because Charleston would win against Florida, of course, this coming week. And if Jacksonville fail to beat Carolina, then Charleston takes home the division title for the first time in franchise history. Jacksonville struggling after having a very solid 3 games after coming off that bye week in week 8. Oh, there we go. Maybe I'm looking at Florida for that one. Yeah, Jacksonville. They did lose to Atlanta week 9, but then rattled off 3 straight wins versus the rest of that East Division. But Jacksonville shown a little bit more of a much more potent offense that Florida provides. Charleston, if they're able to slow down Atlanta's offense in a way that they did, I'm pretty sure we're in for a good game versus Florida and Charleston this coming week. Charleston's going to want their rivals in Carolina to put up some sort of fight versus Jacksonville in order to take the division title. Okay, on to Sioux Falls and Denver. Here's where we talk about Denver. The Sparrows win the West, and it was a mighty, mighty fine performance from Sioux Falls. Did come away with a late touchdown to win the game and a game-sealing interception late on in that 1 minute left in the fourth quarter. But Sioux Falls, after 2 unconventional 3-9 seasons where it took them forever to find their identity finally, where they finally start passing the ball a little bit more, they finally allow themselves out of a run-first mentality and give them more opportunities for a rushing attack in a more balanced style of play. The Sparrows take the division, and another team that I thought was going to go 2-10 decides to go 7-4 and take a division where that West. Let's talk about the West Division, right? The West Division always has had great coaching. Even Sioux Falls in their struggles are pretty decent coaches, right? and not to throw the Pacific Division under the bus, but there's a lot of young, inexperienced coaching staffs over there, especially in the last couple of seasons. That's why Vancouver was the first team to clinch a division, because Andy's been a more established organization. Portland, San Diego, and LA. A little bit less experienced coaching staff. You could argue LA's been a little bit more, has a little bit more prolificity, if that's even a word, has much more standing in terms of the coaching ranks because of that move from Chicago to LA, and the team that they've brought with them or kept with them from Chicago all those seasons ago. But it's clear at this point that the difference between the West and why the West has been a struggle, always has been a struggle for any team to win the division, is because you've got Eddie, you've got wow, I can't think of the coaching staff that's defending my life, but you got Sioux Falls, you got Denver, two great teams, you got Las Vegas that are pretty spunky. Unfortunately for Las Vegas, they find themselves, back with Arizona, unfortunately, this past season. But the West is always going to be a tough division. Sioux Falls proved it. They come all the way back from 2-3-9 seasons. They win the division after a very nice victory over Denver in Denver. All right, on to the last game of Saturday, Houston and Vancouver. And there's a couple parts to this week 13, right? Week 13, part 1, I'm calling this one. Houston were having themselves a wonderful time in Canada, right? Until they get a very, very nice interception by a rookie whose name escapes me. I'll find it for you, don't worry. That same rookie, unfortunately, runs out of bounds after being in the field of play, runs into the end zone, and then out of bounds for a safety. That's one of 2 interceptions this week that change an entire course of the football game. It was a great interception. I'm looking at the wrong stats. My cheat sheet is again. You guys are gonna rake me through the coals again, going off of certain cheat sheets. So once again, I thought it was all updated. I guess not. Let's see. Jeopardy themes music, anyone? Probably copyrighted at this point. That's Vancouver. Dedrick Law, who had a very nice interception and commits the safety. All of a sudden, Vancouver are right back in, and with those 2 points off the safety, they go on to score 23 or more unanswered, and then come out with a victory. So for Houston, it's a lot of bad luck. For Vancouver, it was the kickstart to, the win. 30-24, your final score in Vancouver. And very, very unfortunate for Houston. It looked like from almost there on out, especially that final drive for Vancouver, it almost looked like it was destiny that Vancouver came out with that victory. All right, next game on the docket, first one of Sunday. And are you sure, Cairo Martinez, you want to retire? Past 2 weeks, you scored 5 touchdowns. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail of, maybe some speculation why I think, Cairo and everybody's retiring or all that kind of fun stuff. But that's just not my place, and I'm going to stick out of it. But after playing like this, Cairo, you're sure you want to hang up your cleats? He's had a very nice day. Hit a hat trick 2 weeks ago, scores 2 rushing touchdowns here versus Carolina. The defense played phenomenally for St. Louis, forcing multiple turnovers over the middle. Winkler and Nicholas Warner, there we go. There's the other name I'm looking for. Come away with a couple of nice picks. And it was the debut for Chris Flovac on play-by-play. So sounded pretty good. Sounded really old school, but in a good way. So Slovac, welcome to the broadcast team. And I think he had a pretty decent call. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. On to game number 8 at this point. LA versus MXC, Mexico City. Phoenix Jones was just too hot to handle. Couple of runs. Defenders could not tackle especially on the 2 top 10 runs that he busted off in Mexico City. Gotta go watch those highlights. Gotta go watch those highlights of Phoenix Jones helping to lead the Aztecs, especially helping to halt LA's comeback in that football game. And for Mexico City, a very nice clutch interception at the end of that football game back in the end zone, which sealed LA's fate. And of course, already at this point, LA had been eliminated and just was solidified and, put in paper, set in stone by the Aztecs. Aztecs now, we'll talk about more there here in a little bit. Portland and Fort Worth, and for both teams, where was this offense earlier, man? OJ Bruin had himself a day. Johnny Reno, a solid day. He was almost wanted to call it maybe a heavyweight title fight between Ezekiel Love and Jason Williams, though 2 running backs had themselves an excellent day. But, where was this offense earlier? Maybe it was just the teams they were going up against, but both teams played well. Both teams already eliminated from the playoffs. Portland already came away with their first win, now takes win number 2 versus Fort Worth. But some positive signs, some encouraging signs as both teams end out their season. On the next game, Week 13 continued, and I'm going to tell you, this one was a tough one to swallow, being the agent for Mike Ryan over there in Louisiana. Another interception. It had to be another pick 6, right? It just had to be another interception where it completely changes the momentum of the football game. Kudos to Cameron Shaw. In the right place at the right time. Read Tom Utah really well. Picks off the QB, runs it back for a 82-yard pick 6. And, well, the rest was pretty much history. Tulsa just ran away with it at the end. Scoreline shows it was pretty close toward the end, but in all seriousness, it was almost like the writing was on the wall after that interception, and Louisiana, just like Jacksonville, still have yet to wrap up the division. So Louisiana lose and Tulsa win this upcoming week. So if Louisiana failed to beat St. Louis and Tulsa beat Atlanta, well, we're looking at a Tulsa Desperado East Division champion. And I'm trying to be as impartial as I can, but that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt a whole lot from a player standpoint. Overall, really good game. Nothing too much to say other than that. On to Lone Star San Diego, and lucky Lone Star. Oh my goodness, it was very close to being Week 13 Part 3, but the Glory come away with the victory. James Trull missed 2 field goals that would have put the Glory out in front and wouldn't have had to force their defense into a, you have to stop them now kind of thing. And San Diego more than likely the unlucky story in this one. They get caught in a bad formation, a bad I formation, not a formation we see a whole lot of them. I was extremely surprised on the call to see San Diego in an I form late in a football game. That's just not like them. I just don't know what happened there, what was going through the coaches' heads in that particular opinion. But San Diego unfortunately come away with the loss. They had to punt the ball away inside of 2 minutes. Lone Star with the victor on terms of time of possession. We're just going to take as much clock off as possible. They punch it in for the game-winning touchdown. San Diego, not a whole lot of time left on the clock, no timeouts, and that's it for the Mavericks. And Lone Star comes away with a victory. It's not Remember the Alamo. Maybe it's Revenge of the Alamo is Lone Star. It'll be a Tex-Mex showdown in Denton, Texas. Oh boy, we are in for a duel in Texas. An old-fashioned Mexican standoff. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. All right, final game, and feints or facts from Baltimore. The Vultures dropped 2 straight, and it's not like, I don't think, kind of like last season where they lost to London in week 12 to go to hold that perfect season bid. But it seems like the last few weeks, Baltimore has just been off. Save for maybe the game versus Denver, but all these West Division teams who, again, I go back to my argument versus the West versus Pacific Division. The West Division clearly has a pretty good coaching staff. And save for DC maybe in that division, maybe some underdeveloped coaches, still developing coaches, probably the more accurate term for the North Division. But Baltimore, it's pretty much just been a two-horse race between them and DC this past season. Last season it was a two-horse race between them and Queen City. Where in the West it's been a 4-team race. All 4 teams going at it, in a very tight showing, on a more regular basis. Baltimore just hasn't been able to really decipher these defenses. And for Arizona, it's a great win, a great confidence builder as they close out the season. Unfortunately for Eddie and company, they will not be repeating as West Division champs. No, not West Division champs. They were runner-ups to Denver last season, I think. My mind escapes me. You guys will correct me in the comments, I'm sure. But I don't know what to think of Baltimore right now. 2 back-to-back losses. They need to change something in a hurry when they take on their final opponent in Week 14 against Queen City. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't think Baltimore should have a problem with Queen City or have too much of a problem. But if Baltimore go into the playoffs on a 3-game losing skid, we could likely see Baltimore out in quarterfinals. Because Baltimore at this point have locked up a first-round bye. That's clinched. There's no team that can overtake Baltimore for at least the number 2 seed. I say number 2 seed for the first time because, well, Vancouver won. They're 10-1. Vancouver is a number 1 seed. Is this the year of Andy Hamilton and company? And for Baltimore, we'll see. There's a lot of questions right now over Baltimore. We'll see what happens come Week 14. If you saw my 2 announcements, one in the NETMA server Discord, one in the SFL Discord channel, trying to make Thursday all about you guys, trying to get you guys involved. You guys can jump on the show, ask questions, more info to come at later points. But let's make Thursday about you guys. Let's talk about Week 14 on Thursday. Let's talk about some matchups. Let's talk about some players. Let's talk about maybe a little bit of off-season news. Let's make it about you guys. All right. So we'll see you guys, of course, tomorrow for more SFL content and action. Tomorrow, again, everything's been moved up a little bit. So tomorrow is going to be power rankings in my top 10. Okay. Because I'm trying to make Thursday about everybody and trying to give you guys as much time as possible. It might be a longer show if we get a big turnout. I'm hoping there's a big turnout. Let's make it happen, everybody. So, tomorrow, Tyler's Top 10 and Power Rankings. We'll see you then. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.